This week, on the way to Florida, we drive the back roads of rural southwest Georgia.
And we take our time looking at small towns and how they got their names and a little bit about their history.
So we invite you to ride along.
One of the things that is really fun as you travel, particularly when you're off the major interstates and you come across the town with an unusual name, is just to spend a few minutes either looking the town over, finding somebody you can talk to, or even just Googling it. Every town has a great story, and it's kind of fun to just take a little time off the road and learn a little bit about these communities you're in. Now, we're in southwest Georgia right now. The cotton's high, and we're going to give you a couple of examples of what we mean by just researching the name of a little town. You don't know what you'll find. I don't know what they do in this town in southwest Georgia, but I sure like the name of it, and I'd like to stick around and find out. Baconton. I like bacon.
Oh, Mike, the town wasn't named after bacon. The town was named for Major Robert James Bacon, who came with his wife in 1858. He purchased 4,000 acres of land for $4,000, and the railroad was coming through, and he opened it up, allowed the railroad to access his land, drive through right away. And they, in honor of that, named the town Baconton.
One of the fun things is just driving a couple blocks off the main road in these little towns, and they're really pretty. This one was an agricultural center for many years.
And there's only about 800-900 people who live in the actual city itself right now, but it looks like a delightful place to live.
Yeah, I love the architecture of some of the houses. Well, it took us how long to go through Baconton?
It only took us about 10 minutes, maybe 15 at the most, because we took a couple pictures of buildings.
Yep, there's no, tourist attraction there. There's I don't think there's a restaurant that I can see.
I didn't see a restaurant.
A little town of how many?
I think between 800 and 900 people.
But yeah, just taking a couple of minutes off the busy highway and driving through these little towns and using the internet to give you a little history lesson about it. It's time well spent.
And everybody that we met was very pleasant, waved, smiled, glad to see us.
Yeah. I love the architecture of the southern houses in these little towns.
Yeah, there were some nice homes there.
Yeah. A place with a lot of history, founded just before the Civil War. And now it's known for pecan trees, and there's a lot of cotton fields around it, and it's beautiful. Well, there's an interesting sign, Hopeful, Georgia, but there's no town around here, so how the heck did they get that name?
We looked it up, and the early settlers who came here were hopeful.
I don't know what they were hopeful for, but they named their town Hopeful, so I hope it all worked out for them. Didn't work out too good for the Hopeful Hardware and General Store.
But the Hopeful Baptist Church is doing okay. It's celebrating 175 years this year.
Boy, if this tree could talk, look at this live oak tree in Hopeful, Georgia. This thing is massive and it's old. Hope springs eternal in Hopeful, Georgia. Antonio and his family planting lemon trees, brand new little baby lemon trees to grow up and nurture the future of this little town called Hopeful.
On Highway 91, southwest of Hopeful, is a settlement not quite so optimistic. It's called Little Hope.
We did some searching on the internet, we asked around, and nobody seems to know why that place is called Little Hope. It's in the middle of nowhere, there's really nothing around it, and the question we had is it named, maybe a smaller version of a town named Hope? If so, we couldn't find any town named Hope around there, or were they just kind of pessimistic? Anyway, if you have an idea, post in the comments below. But from Hopeful to Little Hope, small town Georgia. A lot of the place names in the South are derivative of Indian names. And a lot of those names are basically unpronounceable. Ishaway, Natchaway Creek. Sounds good to me.
Actually, Mike, the creek gets its name from two small communities that are just a short distance apart, Itchaway and Notchaway. The creek runs between the two, so the name of the creek is Itchaway Notchaway. We're in Colquitt, Georgia, and this is a perfect town square. You've got the courthouse in the middle, and you've got all the little businesses built around it. It's really charming here in Colquitt.
And here's the Miller County Courthouse. It was named in 1856 for Judge Miller, and his claim to fame was that he was one of the first and early and very strong supporters of giving married women property rights.
It's been over a year since Hurricane Michael went through the Gulf Coast, but what most people don't realize is how big of an area was affected by Michael.
For example, we're near the Georgia community of Donaldsonville. That's almost 100 miles from where Michael came ashore, far inland, and the devastation is still evident even here in the fields, 100-year-old pecan trees, and of course the downtown area of a little town called Donaldsonville. They were decimated by this storm, and the people are just now starting to get back to normal. That storm had an effect far beyond the coast where that hurricane came ashore.
The local newspaper had stories about how severe this storm was, how people were in their house for 6 hours listening to that wind ripping apart their hometown. They said it was as if their town was screaming. One more stop before we reach our destination in Florida, and that's Niceville, Florida. Doesn't Niceville sound like a nice place to live?
But Niceville wasn't always Niceville. In fact, for several decades, it was known originally as Boggy. That's right, Boggy. It was originally called Boggy Bayou. This is Chattahoochee Bay, and this little bayou, it's not boggy at all. It's actually clear, deep water. But for some reason, it was called Boggy. And the town was Boggy, Florida. And shortly after the turn of the century, folks realized it wasn't a very inviting name. And so they changed the name. The local postmaster's daughter said, let's just call our town Niceville. That's the name, Niceville.
It's a place of parks and well-manicured streets, and Beau's favorite place. So that's the way we like to travel, taking our time and learning a little bit about those towns that we're passing through.
Try it yourself. I think you'll have a great time. So Bo has a suggestion here from the Niceville, Florida dog park. He thinks that we should do a visit to every dog park we pass as we travel across North America.
Don't we hit about half of them right now?
I think pretty much we do. Hey, would you do us a favor and give us a thumbs up on this video if you liked it? And don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe to the RV Lifestyle channel right here on YouTube.
Happy trails.
Bye-bye.